Hi everyone, welcome to our home. We're here to answer your questions.
Yes.
Bea's here to answer your questions.
No, you are going to be answering a lot also. So,
I'm here to support.
I did say, like, the day after the wedding that I really wanted to take a video to, be able to look back at this experience, to really verbalize our thoughts. So,
We have lots of them.
We have lots of thoughts, and a lot of you sent questions. We are so thankful and appreciative of all the people that congratulated us and sent their well wishes, and even these questions. We are truly touched.
Thank you for taking the interest.
So let's start with what was it like for you to get engaged, or to propose during the start of quarantine? Because we got engaged March 16.
I think I had the ring a total of 10 days, give or take maybe a week before I actually proposed. And every time I left the house, I was just scared that I was going to lose the ring, because I would leave it here, and I feel like someone would break in and take the ring, and I just got more and more paranoid every day. So I was like, I don't want to wait because I don't want to hold on to this thing. At the same time, I didn't want to wait because I just wanted to get married already.
I mean, I would say getting engaged in quarantine, the first day, the most difficult thing was not being able to see my bestest friends or anyone, actually, not even Nikko, because he proposed and then we went to our separate units. And my building at the time didn't even allow visitors, so I couldn't even see him. So that was really sad, actually. That was very hard to be newly engaged. And voila, you're just alone in the unit. My roommate, Bea, actually was with her family at the time. So it was a very... I don't know if this makes sense. It was dark and lonely, but also hopeful.
Yeah, I was...
it's a combination of both.
I was very, very hopeful
miss me?
At the beginning of quarantine.
So,
feels like so long ago.
So, I know. So, the question a lot of people ask was, why did we choose to get married during the pandemic, or in 2020? Why didn't we just wait?
I don't think we proactively chose to get married during a pandemic. Mm-hmm. We wanted to get married. We wanted to be married.
As soon as possible.
Yeah, I personally, as a man, had been preparing, in the practical sense of things. I was emotionally, spiritually ready to marry Bea for a long time before that. But on the practical side of things, whether it was saving up and procuring a ring, at that point, I thought, very conservative estimation, that things would be a lot closer to normal by the end of the year. But very obviously they have not changed much, at least here in the Philippines. And I thought that maybe October, November, I'm sure we'll be able to have a wedding that's that's pretty close to what we had talked about, at least casually, beforehand. So being engaged during quarantine was a lot of that. Was a lot of slow realization that, things are gonna be like this for a while, huh? So I guess we'll have to change, we'll have to adapt. I think that was clear. As soon as we were engaged, we were like, okay, well, let's get married as soon as we can.
Yeah, and speaking of as soon as we can, if actually in my mind, if there was no pandemic, I'm sure we would have been married in 3 months. For sure. If we got engaged in March, June kasal na kami. And I think it's possible to plan a wedding in that short amount of time. That's just what I believe. And because it was still pretty much there were very strict protocols in June and July. That's why we thought maybe October it'll be a little better. We were lucky enough that it was GCQ. It's still GCQ. I do have a friend natamaan yung date nila August, which was MECQ. And so it was just a lot of just waiting on protocols, no? So yeah, we wanted to get married in 2020, we did not want to wait till the end of the pandemic. That just seemed like too long to be apart. Like, too long. Di
Yeah.
talaga kaya.
A big part of it is we're Christians, so I know that the wait and the wait list sometimes with Catholic churches, especially the Catholic church of your choice,
Yes.
can get very long. You know, even without the pandemic,
Yeah.
even without the quarantine, you know, booking your day and your slot.
Your church.
You know, that's why we felt that, you know, hey, as soon as these restrictions ease up a little bit, to, you know, to a number of guest lists that we're comfortable with and that we can live with, then, you know, then let's go.
Yeah, that's true. It's possible in 3 months. Especially because we didn't need a church, so it's like same venue for the ceremony and for the reception. So before we get into like the program, the wedding, yada yada yada, how did we save up for the wedding? How did we manage finances? This is an interesting topic.
I stopped buying sneakers for one. I slowed down buying sneakers for
Hindi ka
one,
nag-stop.
if I'm being completely honest. Myself and Bea were very fortunate. We work around weddings a lot as hosts. So we know suppliers very well. We know more or less how much it takes to mount an event, whether it's a reception or it's a commercial or a brand event and things like that. We know how much venues cost,
Yeah.
at least the neighborhood of things like that. So there was always a target amount.
Yeah.
Right? And there was always a target amount that the both of us felt that, okay, we need to get to that. But, you know, and that number is going to change for, you know, for so many of you guys, depending on the scale, depending on where you want to have your reception, who you want to have taking your photos. But I think my most important tip is you cannot prepare for a wedding after you get engaged. It's just
yes.
really difficult. So
Truth.
the conversation of not just the wedding, but obviously marriage is something that we've had for years. We knew we wanted to get married. We didn't get into the specifics of what we wanted our wedding to be, but I've known way before I even proposed that, you know, we were going to get married. So that number has always been in my head.
Yeah.
So tabi ka ng konti, you know,
Yeah.
every month, every cutoff, every sweldo, and start chasing for that number.
Adding to all of that, 2019 was actually, I would call it my wedding hustle year. I didn't know when he was gonna propose, but I don't know why I was more aware of saving for the wedding in 2019. And so, yun nga, like every hosting, every event, every whatever, because I am freelance. He has a corporate job, and he still does freelance. So, ayun, it was a conscious effort to set aside money for the wedding. How did we manage finances during the wedding? I'm actually not shy to say this. We split it. We paid for our wedding, and we split it in half. And I find that beautiful.
Our parents
Find
it very beautiful. I think they're the ones who find it more
kasi
beautiful.
for me, I always wanted to. I don't know if that's weird, but I always wanted to pay for my own wedding.
I think it applies to certain families more than, you know, the Ramos side or the Fabregas side, because, and this is something I truly believe, hand to God, that say for example it was my parents that paid for the wedding, or it was Bea's parents who paid for the wedding, or a combination of both, you know, which happens, right? You know, and if that's
fine.
the case for you, then hey, good job to you. Good job to you. Thank your parents. Love your parents.
Honor your parents,
Yeah.
so that it may go well with you.
Yeah, but you know, and it's not like our parents, you know, didn't offer. You know,
to help.
they were more than willing to help with as much as they could afford to help. But you know, we really said, you know, any help you can throw our way, you know, would be appreciated. But we don't necessarily need And we said that the most respectful way possible. I think both of our families respect how independent we are, but we did it because we're independent, because we don't want to burden kind of like parang our parents onto that, and also because it's super important to us to start our life as husband and wife
Yeah,
and to start
exactly.
it on our own terms.
Aware of what you have to pay for, and how much this cost, and what's it gonna take for this to look like this.
Yeah.
Ganon. And I mean, like, we did split our wedding. I'm not gonna go on here and say that we didn't have any help at all. There was help, but a majority of the expenses were ours talaga.
Here's the elephant in the room. If Bea's parents paid for the wedding, it would still probably be the wedding that we had. If my parents paid for
Yeah.
the wedding, it would still be the wedding that we had.
Yeah.
However, that's not the case for other couples out there. Here's what you're really avoiding, and here's why you want to pay for your wedding, right? Because some parents take over their children's weddings.
Yeah.
Right? That wouldn't have been the case with our parents. God bless them. We love them. But it's happened before, right?
Mm-hmm.
If someone tells me it happens half the time, I wouldn't be surprised. But if you're paying for everything, then you get to choose
Everything.
which tito from the province you don't want to invite. Which of
Yes.
your mom's amigas
Are
doesn't
not
have to be
making
there.
the guest list.
Yeah.
Yes, because at the end of the day, it's your wedding. And so, ayun, that's basically the elephant in the room.
If you can.
If you can.
Yeah.
If you can. And you know what? We're not saying that if your parents offer to help, we're also not saying don't accept. That's great. But, yun nga, it was, parang you can find siguro some things that they can help out with, and, here and there. That, in the end, overall, parang every peso counts, by the way.
Yeah. And it's important, because obviously money is such a tricky conversation to have. But it's important to have the wedding that you can afford. And that's a lesson that we had to learn. Yes, we saved for a long time, and yes, we felt comfortable splitting the wedding, and yes, we had help from both sides of the family, but we made it a point to pay for the wedding that we could afford,
Yes.
not to overextend, to give up on certain things that would have been nice,
Pero,
but we
okay
couldn't
lang.
afford.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I think that's a good first step in a marriage. Ayaw mo naman yung first day ng kasal nyo, nagwawaldas na kayo eh.
Wow, that's...
So nagwaldas kami the week after. Overspend.
Okay. So, also, when it comes to expenses, even before the wedding, Nikko and I were very, very open with our expenses. Like, I knew how much money was in his bank account, and he knew how much money was in my bank account. And we've pretty much been like that since day one. Hindi naman day one. Mga day two. Hindi naman. Mga year one, ganon. Year one? Hindi nga. I think day one.
Yeah.
Yeah, since day one of being in a relationship. And I know some people find that strange. But I think from the beginning, we were pretty aware that we wanted to spend our lives together. And so money isn't a sensitive topic for us.
Also, it's a matter of circumstance. Because we used to be co-workers at the same
Ayun na nga.
company. So,
So we know how much we earn. We know how much, like, especially we do hostings together. So I know how much his hosting rate is.
yeah,
My
so
hosting rate.
I'm sure there's a couple out there who work at the same office. And if you guys work at the same office, then you know the pay structure at your company. So, alam mo kung magkano kinikita ng partner mo.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it's always been for us. So, ba't mo pa itatago, diba?
How long did we prepare for the wedding? So when did we start planning na talaga? So basically, wala kaming magawa when we first got engaged. As in, engaged lang kami, tas wala.
It's like a 4-month thing.
I think we really started in July.
Yeah.
July, August. Mga tatlong buwan lang eh.
Yeah, 3 months.
3 months. Because, ayun na nga, as Nikko mentioned, we work in events, so we're very aware of like the protocols for mass gatherings. And yun nga, so we just kept waiting and waiting, and I think once July hit and we were seeing like, okay, ito na yon, like pretty much this is what it's gonna look like in October. Hindi na nga kami umasa na mag-MGCQ actually. Parang we were like, GCQ, we're planning around a GCQ wedding. Go, 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 go. A lot of people asked what was the first thing, our first step, like where do you even begin? So for us, totoo talaga to. Photo and video. Kailan sila available? Jason Magbanwa and Pat D have like no, we've worked with them obviously because we've hosted weddings, and you know, I mean, they did also Isa's wedding, and I just knew that I wanted them to do our wedding, and so we asked them, kailan kayo available sa October? They gave a date, and the stars aligned. Also for my makeup artist, which, you know, I'll get to in a little bit also. But ayun, so our two main suppliers, photo and video, they were available October 4, and that is why we got married October 4.
And that just comes down to how you tier what's important to you. So we saved on certain things, right?
Venue design, ganon.
Yeah.
Hindi kami sobrang naggumastos sa venue, like design.
And obviously, a smaller guest list allows you to save, you know, things of that nature. Our venue was at a private residence of a friend of ours, so you know that was also something that we saved on. But you pick on what you splurge on, diba?
Yeah.
I know we said, you know, okay, magwaldas, but you know, it is your wedding, so you guys have to prioritize what's super important to you guys. And you know, Pat D and Jason Magbanwa, they're the best in their
biz,
fields,
yeah.
for a reason. They command a fair price.
I think also because it was a pandemic, obviously like your wedding day is important period, but we really wanted to make the best out of the situation, and we wanted the people that were like the best in their field to make the situation like beautiful. Gets mo ba? Parang we were only working with this. Like we don't have some big grand venue. We don't have like, you know, we didn't super decorate the place, and we just trusted in the skills and the talent of our photo and video, and they were spectacular. They've been tagged a lot, and it's been in some articles, but our food was by Konanan. Love their food. If people are asking what you should splurge on, aside from photo and video, I honestly believe you need to splurge on food. I think that you should be like, that's a way to thank your guests for coming.
For me, that's number one.
Diba?
For me, that's number. I mean, if you were to just ask me, I think food is. I think food is right up there because it's something that you guys are celebrating, and you know your guests, especially if you guys are getting married during a pandemic, you know your guests are taking time out of whatever it is they have going on and the stresses that they're dealing with, because everyone's dealing with stress these days. So you know, it'd be nice to give them, you know, to serve
really yummy meal.
Serve them a good meal,
yeah.
And for you guys to enjoy your meal as well. So yeah.
Although it's true, no, hindi ka talaga makakakain on the day.
Yeah.
I thought, I was like, no, not me. I'll be able to eat, but it's true. I mean, I did eat, but not as much as I wanted to. But anyway, yeah. So Konanan did our food. Many people were asking about the styling of the place and how we chose the concept, our very minimalist concept. I never imagined like what my wedding would look like. If like ask Bea Marquez, every time you ask me, I'm just like, I have no idea. I just know that I want it to look maaliwalas, like that is my word. And I think Bea did a great job. So basically, Bea worked hand in hand with the stylist of Konanan. She she's so great. She looks for pegs for me, and then I just looked at it and I was like, that looks okay. And then they just did their thing. I was not involved with that. at all. I mean, I knew more or less like what the flowers were gonna be and this and that, but I pretty much let go and let Bea do her thing when it came to like the concept. Our friends Kay and Janos, they had a wedding. Their wedding had disposable cameras, and we thought that it was so lovely, and that's what we did. And we have great photos from Pat and also great photos from the disposable cameras because it's the guest's point of view. So ayun, that's nice. What were our safety protocols for the wedding?
It's something that you cannot be careless with.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot be loose about. The most important thing is getting everyone swab tested. And that meant every single person who we were gonna come in contact with. Each other, obviously. Our families who were attending pretty much made up almost our entire guest list. All the suppliers, Jason's team, Pat's team, makeup artists, the waiters,
Even the makeup artists that did our friends' makeup.
anyone we would be in contact with that day and who would be in that venue. Everyone had to get swab tested over
Our
the course.
pastor.
Our pastor over the course of 48 hours, and it was a big thing to ask of them, not only to get something put up their noses, which is not pleasant. I'm sure most of you guys have gotten a swab test by now. But also, after getting a swab test 2 days before,
To
to
stay
ask them
home.
to stay home.
Yeah.
Alternate seating, just how you see it in restaurants, that was applied as well.
Even the month before the wedding, we were pretty much asked them to not go out so much, and that's very, very hard. It's a tough thing to ask, and even for us, like there were, of course, like let's say my grandmother, I did not get to see her before the wedding. You just want to be super safe, and because you don't know until you get tested. So ayun, a month before the wedding, pretty much everybody was staying home. Medyo naloka yung dad ko and my mom because even for errands, like everything was online, ganon, bahay lang talaga.
Food was individually served.
Yes.
So everyone kind of had their own plate. It's not kind of like everyone was asked to keep track of their glasses. We even had kind of like a little bit of a party favor of chips, but everyone had their own chips, had their own bowl of chips.
Our food was buffet because we were actually told by our supplier that it's safer that way to have, one waiter per dish. Well, actually, yeah, pretty much per like 2 dishes per waiter, and they were tested also. So sila lang yung nagsuserve instead of everybody holding the spoon.
If it's plated, you're gonna have people with their hands on every dish
plate,
that's
yeah.
on. They plate it, they make it look nice, as opposed to if it's coming from a chafing container, chafing dish,
Yeah.
they're scooping it and putting it on your plate is safer than having people touch multiple parts of your plate.
Yeah.
So those are things that we learned along the way.
Pretty much when it's served to you, don't share food. And we just ordered an extra amount of appetizers para if they want more, you don't have to get like your brothers or your sisters. So ayun, ito, very common question. How did we trim the guest list?
We drew lots. Luck of the draw. A pure lottery of sorts.
Okay, so when we first got engaged, we did, our guest list, diba? Parang di naman namin alam na quarantine pa rin, 6 months from when we got engaged. And initially, parang our list was at 300 plus, diba? After a few months, we got it down to parang 200. After a month or so, tas biglang naging 150. Tas, okay, 100 na lang pala. Okay, 60. Ay, hindi sis. Hindi rin kaya yung 60. 22. So, for the ceremony, it was only immediate family and the pastor. Plus, pili na suppliers, diba? So, basically, our friends, we only had 4 friends each. And they were outside during the ceremony kasi nga, hindi pwede during the ceremony to be inside. It was 10% of the venue and we had to follow that.
Because the ruling for a religious ceremony,
yes, is 10%.
Required 10% of the capacity of your venue. So after doing the math, because of, we're fortunate enough we did it at the private residence of a good friend of ours, a very large property. So we took 10% of what the registered capacity of that venue was.
Like the total capacity.
And that's how we got to whoever was inside. However, upon advice of our suppliers as well, and the people who helped put us together, for the reception, for kind of like a social gathering, because of the size of the venue as well and things of that
May
nature,
limit din yun.
there is also a limit to that.
Under 25.
Allowing you to be socially distant and things of that nature. And that's what, and the count is including everyone. So the count is including Bea, it's including myself, it's including Jason and Pat, and things of that nature. So that's how we got to parents, siblings, and 4 friends each.
Yeah. So Nikko and I have like lots of common friends, and so there are a lot of people that helped us become like who we are today. People saw us grow, and especially our radio friends. So that was very, very hard for me to just imagine the wedding without them. Without Gino and Tin and Ricky and Boom and like everybody.
Me, not so much.
I had a hard time. My college best friends, my CB, which I cannot believe actually that they were not there. So, like till now, it hurts. It still does. I'm not gonna lie and I'm not gonna say it's okay. The day was beautiful. The day was actually perfect. God really blessed us with such a beautiful wedding. But I'm not gonna lie and say that it's no problem na parang 22 lang yung tao doon, na parang people also told us at the end of the day the most important thing is magpakasal kayo and it's just about you two, and that's what most of our friends were saying, which was so sweet. But to me it's like I want to celebrate our love with these people that mean so much to me, and that's why it was hard. My 2 grandmothers couldn't be there, our cousins couldn't be there, his Titan work friends that are like his bestest friends.
I'm glad my cousins weren't there.
Wala talaga. And that's why there was a drive-by, which I did not know. He surprised me with that, and that's why medyo sobrang, if you saw our Instagram stories, like nagwala talaga ako, because yun nga, I saw my oma, my lola from the car, I saw my cousins from the car, we saw our radio friends from the car. Pero syempre, as much as, like, if I could describe that moment, parang nabuo ako, like, because I saw them, and then it broke my heart again, like, as they left, if that makes sense, diba? Kasi, andyan na eh, but you can't let them in. And so that was very hard, but ayun nga, parang...
That's right.
I know. I'm just a little emotional. You really have to take what you can get, you know what I mean? And so kami, parang I'm just grateful we were able to have friends, period. Kasi as much as, yes, you're like, even siblings, diba? Akala ko nga, I know lots of people got married, 10 people lang, including, your photo, video, your parents, the minister, you guys, like, that was it. Like, siblings. I have 4 siblings, he has 3 siblings. Like, paano na, diba? So I'm so thankful and grateful that we were able to do that, and we were able to follow all the protocols, and everyone was safe. All of the, swabs came back negative. So that's pretty much how we trimmed our guest list, because we didn't have a choice. We really didn't have a choice. Ayun. So if I keep talking about this, maiiyak ako. So move on na tayo.
If you guys are planning a wedding and like the guest list kind of becomes something that's difficult for you, move your wedding. Wait. I don't know up until when. But just wait. If it's a much bigger deal to you than
yes,
getting married to the person that you want to get married to, then wait. A lot of the time, these weddings, it becomes a money thing, diba?
We could have had the 300 people at our wedding, but like that's what we were saving up for.
Yeah.
Okay, ganong level, ganong amount of people, but wala eh. I would say that obviously it was very hard to have all of those people not there, but our friends understood that what was most important to us was to start our lives as soon as possible. And so your friends will understand, your family will understand. It will be hard. Masakit pa rin talaga. Lots of people will, your friends are gonna wish that they were there, your cousins, your, I don't know, your titos, your titas. But wala eh. If you want to get married by the end of this year, I don't know, it's not looking like you're gonna be able to have more than actually the amount that we had, unless you book a super big venue and like spread everybody out like 10%. However, for me personally, and this is just my opinion, parang the less people the better talaga, There were some things that we obviously thought that we would have at our wedding, but we didn't. Same day edit. We didn't have we didn't, really have much of a program, which is so strange because, so strange to me. But anyway, so basically we did not have a screen and we didn't want an SDE because that would be another person to consider pa for the head count, diba? Magsiset up pa yon and everything. So basically the least people that at the venue, whatever you can strip, as in, tanggalin mo na. Ganon. So, ayun. What did we have? Our program was very simple. We got married. There was a quick drive-by. That was a surprise. Nikko, another surprise. He got all of our DJ friends to host our wedding through VOs. Every part, like the first dance, father, daughter, mother, son, and then we did, our speeches for each other, and then we ate. That was pretty much it. It was very simple. It was so fun. Everybody was listening to all the speeches, and I think that was the most special thing. Yung nakikinig talaga lahat. Kasi, of course, we've hosted weddings. And I'm not saying that, there are like bad guests. But syempre, when you're in a big room, your attention span, will go to different things. Malayo kayo, hindi nyo naririnig masyado or whatever. But ito talaga kasi, kayo lang nandun. Everyone's listening and everyone was crying. Everyone was laughing. So I think that's that's the plus of an intimate wedding, diba?
After hosting, I don't know, 100 weddings or something like that, this probably is not going to be beneficial for me professionally, but we were forced to trim the program because there wasn't anyone there. There was no program to be had. If and when things go back to normal, my advice to everyone getting married is the same.
Trim the program.
Get rid of it.
And we're hosts and we're saying this.
The two things people are waiting for is at the start of the reception, they're waiting to eat, get them fed as soon as possible.
Yes.
And then after that, it's just a slow and painful wait until they can drink and dance and have fun and hug you guys.
Nagpapahaba ng program because syempre you are waiting for the SDE, diba? And that, as much as that is such a beautiful thing to have, I get why people want it. It does take some time to edit. So you need some stuff in your program, and if that is something that you really want, you want to look back on the day, then it's fine.
No, yeah, an SD is fine, but there's other ways to burn time. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
The couples game between all the couples in attendance, the singles game where the host does the old thing na parang all the singles don't want to come up to the front. Nominate if there's a single at your the table game. Who knows the couple the best?
Yeah, that's.
No one enjoys it. No one. No, there's not one. You've been guests before. You didn't enjoy doing it.
Yeah. Since ang dami namin sinabi about the program, importante naman talagang may host, okay? Like for me, it was very strange in my mind na parang, oh my God, sino mag-host ng wedding namin? Ang dami-dami namin kaibigan na host, pero walang pwede. Like obviously, kasi nga wala sila sa head count. And so, Nikko met that need through the VOs and stuff. So there was still hosting, diba? There was still intros and there was still transitions, which is I find very important and key. Yung simple lang at malinis, diba? Hindi na maraming satsap. Next, hardest thing to plan about the wedding. super quick. Ano yung pinakamahirap for you? Ako yung swab testing. Yun yung like, madugo. Na siya naman nag-ayos. As in, when I was thinking about it, I was just like, I can't do it anymore.
There's a lot of
Nakakahilo.
there's a lot of scheduling, there's a lot of coordinating and things like that. But so we did a combination of home service for the families, and then there was also a clinic at a relatively easy to access location in the Makati area that everybody else could go to at their own convenience at least 48 hours before the wedding. So I made sure to kind of like schedule, those two clinics and those two services to do that. We got married at a private residence, so there is no built-in audio, sound system present there.
Yeah.
So, our my old boss, her current boss at Magic, station
Hi,
guy,
boss.
as a present from him, he lent us some of the equipment at Magic. You can't have an operator, you can't have a technician, an audio expert
Kasi hindi sila
there
na-swab.
because that's another part of the head count. So what I did was early in the morning, I went to the venue after the whole setup was put in.
Photos
and then I took in what the setup was, the audio setup. I briefed it to my brother and our friend Erica, who kind of ran the audio setup after that, and played our music and things of that nature. But once all that was set up, that's when I went back home and got ready.
Ayun, tapos nag-photo siya.
It's a lot of do it yourself. Don't get discouraged if things go wrong a little bit. I remember the morning of it was me and Bea Marquez at the venue when the audio was being set up, when the sound system was being set up. B was setting up the styling of it as well. And there were a couple of things there that maybe weren't according to plan, or we had to shift around and move around, and you're just kind of level-headed about it. And if you approach it in that manner, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Just one thing at a time, and just accept that things aren't going to go as you drew them up. So be agile.
You have to be adaptable. You have to be ready to adjust. You will look back and say the day was beautiful, but there were so many things. There were so many hiccups. Like, I think the biggest hiccup, ito. Somebody asked, as we transition into this next point, somebody asked, should they hire a coordinator for an intimate wedding? And you know what? For me, if your head count can accommodate a wedding coordinator, absolutely, of course. However, kami kasi, yun nga, I mean, we're gonna keep saying this. As hosts, as people that do events, we pretty much know what needs to be done, what needs to be set up. So we were like, for this amount of people, kaya na namin to. But there are some downsides to having no wedding coordinator. Nung nagsimula na yung ceremony namin, dapat kasi, in my head, si Nikko, hindi na siya lalabas ng door. Okay? Like, he just walked the aisle. But I don't know what happened. Somebody asked him to go out. Tapos pinababa na ako sa car. So, right before Nikko went inside, he saw me for a split second, then he closed his eyes. And that is a downside of not having a wedding coordinator. Diba? Do you remember what I look like?
Oh, not really.
Not really. Yeah, it was strange. It was so in that moment, magdadabog ba ako? Magwawala ba ako? I was just like, wala na eh. It happened already. I'm here. We got here. Let me just walk down the aisle. And you know what? The moment was as beautiful and as perfect as I could have as I could have imagined it. Like seeing Nikko for the first time down the aisle, obviously, kasi nagkita kami for half a second kasi, was so exciting. It was thrilling. It was like, wow. So, yun. May mga ganun. Kasi, syempre, if Nikko was outside, a coordinator would be wag kang gumalaw, diba? As the bride for the big reveal, whatever. So, if you can accommodate a coordinator, by all means, do it. But if you think that you can do it yourselves, then that's also okay, diba?
If you're fairly organized as a person, the way...
And if you have super organized best friends. My best friends, Bea and Erica, are so organized.
Yeah, if you're fairly organized as a person, if you have guests who are willing to do a little bit of work. For Bea's case, it was a lot of work.
Bea Marquez.
But for, say for example, for Erica, who was kind enough to do it, for my brother, who was kind enough to push a few buttons and play our music and stuff like that. Take the savings.
Yeah.
Take the savings.
Take the savings. Okay, last three. How did we decide on our wedding song? Kasi na-LSS daw sila. We have lots of songs for each other.
We had a couple of candidates. We had a couple of nominees.
For each other. Yeah, and so there was a day that Nikko and I were like driving and we played well, actually, we knew now what we wanted for our father, daughter, and mother, son instantly. It was just hours that na parang we were kind of like going back and forth, but not really, because we were leaning towards One and Only by Adele talaga. And so we were playing songs, and then finally when we played it in the car,
I forgot about it for a while kasi si Bea was asking me about it. Like, what should our song be? What should our song be? It's funny, like parang our friend Alan gave us a present today. This photo of ours on a glass, printed on this glass frosted thing that has the Spotify link to I Miss You by Blink-182.
Hindi naman yun pwede yung wedding song namin,
which is
diba?
a really, it's a really meaningful song to us. But it's not a song you can dance
Where
to.
are ya?
It's not a song that...
And I'm so sorry.
It's nice to kind of... You don't think
I
wedding...
cannot sleep. It's just not a wedding song. But we like that song. Like, we used to play that song for each other on the radio. And not, obviously, hindi kami magde-dedicate kasi that's kind of like abusing your job. Naglalandian kayo. We used to do that a lot. But anyway, ayun. So, hindi naman pwede I Miss You by Blink-182. Meron kaming, song, like Hate That I Love You by Neo and Rihanna. Nasa Machala. Hindi siya pwede.
Yeah, so
pang sayaw siya sa party so
if your relationship right now doesn't have a good ballad yet, you're gonna need one.
Yeah, you need and so this Adele song was kind of Nikko's song for me, no?
I told Ricky, I told a couple of my other friends, anytime I would hear that song, that was the song that I would play at our wedding. And that was before we even started dating. So yeah, but I forgot about it for some reason. And yeah, we knew that it had to be that song.
It made sense once we heard it in the car. Like, we were just quiet for like the first minute and a half and we were like, okay, yeah, it has to be this song.
I don't cry anymore when I hear it.
I know.
But for a while, anytime I heard it.
Yeah, so he would listen to it, like, he told me one day, parang naligo daw siya, tapos pinapakinggan niya yung song, like, prepping for the wedding. Tapos umiiyak siya in the shower. Very... Yeah, which, you know what? I cried so much at the wedding. He barely cried. Like, he cried when I walked down the aisle, but he was just so happy most of it. But I was crying, like, the whole time. Start to finish. I was
also stressing about all the things that we planned.
Yeah.
Bea didn't know about.
Ang dami niyang surprise. Sabi ko nga sa kanya, sana he told me a little bit of the surprises para medyo mas ganyan yung iyak ko. Hindi yun? But it's okay. It was very sweet. Favorite thing about the wedding, for me, hands down, was our first dance. All the events that we've been to, we like to like dance. Not well, but like we like looking at each other and like dancing a little bit. So when we finally got to do that at our wedding, it was really special. So that's my favorite part.
Yeah, I like I like walking in because Bea, that was the start of the surprise. After the drive-by, and Bea thought, okay, all the surprises are done, but the last surprise was, Boom would be the one to introduce us as.
Because that's what I said. I wanted that specifically. I was like, before we even got engaged, I was like, our plan was to have our host friends like do parts of our wedding, right? Just that's how Gino did it. And Boom was my partner on the radio for a bit, and I was just like, it has to be Boom. Like, Boom is like the voice, right? So official, and it's freaking boom. And then so when that played, I could not believe it. I was just like, how the hell did you think of this? Galing mo, no?
Yes.
Galing mo. So sweet. And then Chico and Del and Gino and Ricky and Lau and Sam and Slick and Tin and Aaron.
Sam O was the best
And
one
Sam O.
because Sam O sent the video.
Video daw yung sinabi ni Sam.
When I asked for an audio one, so there's a video of Sam making her intro in full makeup and an outfit
we miss you.
from her home. So see Sam gets 10 out of 10 effort out of
yes.
everyone else.
So that was really, really amazing. But I guess if there was anything that, because this is really long and we're gonna end it now, and I can't imagine there being more questions. Actually, there were so many questions, and I'm sorry that we couldn't get to everything. May mga nagtanong, ano daw yung workout ko bago ng wedding. May mga nagtanong our story, and I think that's for a different time. Like, this was really just for the wedding. And so I want to end by saying, if you are getting married this year, early next year, you really have to be adaptable, and I wouldn't say lower your expectations, because it's not that, because it can be beautiful no matter what. It's more, you just have to be ready for the unexpected, diba? And be flexible, be ready for, to change. You can't hold on to one thought and be like, oh my god, this has to happen. Yeah. So I wouldn't say that I was bridezilla. No. Actually, I don't think we were like intense about it, and like even from like the theme and how the place looked, I was very chill about that. Ang pinaka non-negotiable lang talaga namin for us was our food, video, photo, and my designer Martin Bautista, who did so well. Honestly, like I had a post dedicated just to Martin because it was just everything. It was just so beautiful. So anyway, yeah, so just be ready for change. And I think even before the pandemic, weddings will really, be subject to change. Like on the day, so many things are happening. So imagine pa now. And the most important thing is getting that ring on your finger and the safety of everybody. Safety.
You want to make sure that you comply. As difficult as that may be, you must comply.
Yeah.
Even if there's kind of like opportunity there for you guys to maybe get away with a few things, it's one less thing that you're gonna stress over. Just knowing that you've complied completely. I don't know. I don't mean to kind of like get all Christian on you guys, but it's an important day to kind of like start a new chapter of your life. It's selecting a partner for life and kind of like committing yourself to that person. You want to make sure that day is full of as many happy things as you can force into it. Thus, all the surprises that we tried to. Myself and our friends tried to pull off for Bea. What you don't want around it is little rule breaking here or there.
Wag na, it's not worth it.
That speaks a lot about the kind of life that you guys are gonna start. The safer it is, and if you comply with all the precautions, and if you comply with all of the rules and things like that, you're gonna be able to enjoy it completely.
Yeah.
And have fun without worrying about anything else, and it'll really pay dividends for you.
Kasi you accept na eh. Okay, ito na yon. This is the situation. This is how many guests we can have. This is what we're working with. We're testing everybody. We're making sure that everyone is safe. We're following protocols. And so, when you get there on that day, you did everything right. And I think that's like that's a blessing from God that we were able to enjoy our program, enjoy the day, and we felt safe at the same time. Like for a minute, and obviously we're so aware of what's happening in the world and in our country, but for a minute, we got to really just drown in love and in that day. And it was so beautiful. I can't stop saying it was so beautiful because it was, baby.
Yeah.
We're thankful, and we took what we did the best that we could with the situation at hand, and we're married. We're married. We're married. We're married. Thank you so much for watching this. If you're still watching this, good luck with planning your wedding, because you're probably planning a wedding to watch something this long.
Hire me, I'll do it for you. I'll coordinate it for you.
Bye. Be safe always.